Only 2 weeks into his final term, President Obama managed already to have his worst week ever, and it's all thanks to his inability to get a handle on the economy. Let's run through a couple examples. On Wednesday, reports emerged that the economy contracted for the first time in more than 3 years. Then yesterday, we learned that applications for jobless benefits jumped by more than 38,000 in a week, topping out at 368,000. This news coincidentally came the same day Team Obama announced it was disbanding its Jobs Council. Then the icing on the cake hit this morning when we learned the unemployment rate is back up to 7.9%, and that number could easily be well over 10% if the Labor Department didn't play with the numbers to suit the left-wing narrative. Here with reaction, our radio talk show hosts, Hugh Hewitt and Leslie Marshall. Leslie is also a Fox News contributor, but Hugh, I want to start with you. Tough week for Obamonomics, but what do you expect when you only spend $5.8 trillion?
You know, Eric, it was a terrible week. You're absolutely right. It may go down as his worst week as the beginning of the recognition that we're going into an Obama recession. And the president has turned his back on the nation's unemployed. That number going up to 7.9%. Everywhere you turn, every arm of the Obama administration is launching a war on jobs. Everywhere you turn, every agency. And the consequences of this are just beginning to show up, and he is indifferent to this. I think it ought to shock a lot of Americans.
Now, Leslie, on Wednesday, President Obama said he was disbanding his Jobs Council. Why? Because the economy is so good, jobs are so good, or he's not up for re-election again?
Well, I would think you guys would be really happy about this. I mean, this cuts more spending. And, Eric, are you telling me when the market closed at over 14,000 today, we have a bad economy today? Corporate America's doing well.
What do you mean it cuts more spending? It doesn't cost anything to get Jeff Immelt in the room or on a telephone, does it?
Let me tell you, corporate America today proved with the market that they are doing fine. It's corporate America, the private sector, that everybody on the right, like my friend you there, says should be creating jobs. Not the government. It's not the government's responsibility to create jobs. So why do we need a Jobs Council, gentlemen?
Well, now go ahead.
You know, Leslie, it's the government's responsibility not to kill jobs. Let me give you three specific examples. The Los Brisas coal plant in Corpus Christi, killed by EPA just this week. The Gunnison sage hen in southwestern Colorado, listed by the Department of Interior, going to shut down oil and gas exploration, kill off housing in Colorado. And then let's talk about the sequestration that looms, or in fact, the medical device tax, 2.3% on gross receipts, perhaps the biggest job killer of Obamacare, kicked in. That is the government killing jobs. The private sector is doing the best it can, Leslie, but your president, your party, your representatives are at every turn killing off jobs in this country. It's not the private sector that's not doing its job. It's the federal government that's killing it.
Hang in there, both of you. I want you to listen to, on Wednesday also, when the GDP number came out and it showed a contraction for the first time in 3.5 years. $5.8 trillion down the drain, contracting economy. ABC kind of talked about it a little bit on the nightly news. NBC disregarded it completely, didn't even show up. Listen to what Scott Pelley at CBS News had to say about it.
A shrinking economy over time spells recession, but don't panic yet. This number is likely to be revised as more data come in. Senior business correspondent Anthony Mason found this dark cloud may have a silver lining.
The headline may be disappointing, but the underlying economy was showing renewed strength at the end of last year.
As one economist put it, it's the best contraction in the U.S. economy you're ever going to see.
First off, Leslie, I'm not sure Scott Pelley is an economist that works with the department, but he may be, so I don't know how you know it's going to be revised. And by the way, if it's revised, is it going to be better? Anyway, number two, silver lining, really a contraction. And number three, really? That's all, really?
Listen, you know, I'm normally a pessimist, but can I make some lemonade with all the lemons that you guys want to see here? We have to look at, if you want to talk about revision, do you remember when all you guys were saying that the books were cooked before the election, and now we see the revisionary numbers for September, October, November up? We see 100,000 jobs created in construction in just the past 4 months. That tells me, guys, that the housing situation is turning around, and you know that is key to our economy. This is not double dipping. This is is not a recession. This is a 1/10% difference in the unemployment number.
Hold on,
and
guys.
the GDP is due to the cuts in the Defense Department.
We can argue whether the economy is strong or not. You may ask the 12 million people who are out of work whether it is or not. But Hugh, is there ever a good time to have a contraction, a recession in the economy, number one? And why is the left-leaning, left-wing media covering up for this?
You know, that CBS report, Eric, is amazing. This isn't a talking point. These jobs that are being killed in Corpus Christi, in Colorado, across the medical device industry, these aren't talking points, Leslie. These are real people who are losing their futures because this president and his administration are killing jobs. 2.3% tax on gross receipts is going to take one of our strongest sector, the medical devices sector. It's got 400,000 people working for it. It's going to contract by 10, 20, 30% if this president does not act. So it's not a talking point. A contraction in the economy is a disaster for real people, not Beltway people, not pundits, not CBS reporters, but real people. And I can't believe the president is actually not talking to this and is off, I know, watching Super Bowl or something. He's got to be concerned.
Leslie, if you rattled off some numbers, if the economy is so good and the Obama recovery is happening and Obamonomics is working, why are 48 million people on food stamps right now? And the number we're spending on food stamps has tripled since he took over?
I never said this is a great situation. What I said is this is not going backward. We are not double dipping. We're not in a recession. When you look at those revisionary numbers, when you look at construction, when you look at health care, by the way, which everybody said would cost jobs and has created jobs, according to this last report, this is steady. Slow? Absolutely, no question. But we're not going in the wrong direction. I think that what this shows actually is that we don't need more cuts. I think the spending cuts have actually negatively affected our economy, and we saw that with the GDP.
Hugh, I got about 15, 20 seconds. Last word.
Well, the sequestration on the Department of Defense is a disaster. The president said it wasn't going to happen. The president has not said a word about stopping it. Once again, he is responsible for the contraction. And Leslie, negative growth is negative growth. It's down 0.1%. It's the beginning of the Obama recession.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there. Hugh Hewitt, Leslie Marshall, thank you, guys. Up next, the most surprising.